सुर में गाना सीखिए पाधानीसा ऐप के साथ AI पावर्ड पर्सनल म्यूजिक टीचर फ्रॉम सारेगामा।
निज निकेतने मन चल निज निकेतने সংসার বিদেশে বিদেশীর বেশে ভ্রম কেন কারণে মন নিকেতনে বিষণ সব তোর পর কেহ নয়াপন বিষয় পঞ্চ আর ভূতগণ সব তোর পর কেহ নয়াপন পর প্রেমে কেন অচেতন ভুলিছ আপন জানে মন চাল নিজ নিকেতনে মন চাল নিজ নিকেতনে সত্য পথে মন কর আরোহণ প্রেমের আলো জালি চল অনুক্ষণ সঙ্গেতে সম্বল রাখো পূর্ণ ধন গোপনে জ্যোতি যতনে লোভ মোহ আদি পথে দস্যুগণ পথিকের করে সর্বসমোষণ লোভ মোহ আদি পথে দস্যুগণ পথিকের করে সর্বসমোষণ পরম যতনে রাখো রে প্রহরী সমদম দুই জনে মন চাল নিজ নিকেতনে মন চাল নিজ নিকেতনে।
To commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, the Advaita Ashrama, in collaboration with Saregama India Limited, presents before you the audio form of Swami Vivekananda's Chicago addresses, delivered at the World's Parliament of Religions, held at the Art Institute of Chicago in September 1893. It was here at the World's Parliament of Religions that the unknown monk from India was introduced to the world. Here he began his first talk with the now famous words, "Sisters and Brothers of America." Simple words, unremarkable in themselves, words that could have been uttered by anyone. But backed by the utter sincerity of the Swami, his spiritual power and profundity, his palpable purity, these simple words electrified his hearers, bringing them to their feet with an applause that lasted several minutes. From that moment, on the first day of the proceedings, the Swami became the Parliament favorite, as is now well known. How wonderful it would have been had Swami Vivekananda's original voice been recorded at the Parliament of Religions. What a treasure it would have been to hear that rich baritone voice, described by many as pure music, delivering his talks with all their original power and beauty. Alas, this is impossible because, as we know from detailed research and inquiry, no recordings were made at the Parliament of Religions. There are recordings now available which pretend to be authentic copies of Swami Vivekananda's original delivery at the Parliament of Religions. Unfortunately, they are not authentic. First, because, as we said, it is known that no recordings were made. Second, Dr. Barrows introduced the Swami at the Parliament, not a woman as found in some of these recordings. Third, the technology of 1893 simply did not allow it. Yes, between 1892 and 1899, several recordings were made of Swami Vivekananda's voice by the Raja of Khetri, the Raja of Mysore, and the Raja of Ramnad, as well as by friends in America. But none of these have survived. The wax cylinders used at that time allowed for 3 minutes of recording at the most, and the cylinders had a relatively short life before the sound began to degenerate. Hence, we bring to the public this humble presentation of the Advaita Ashrama, a center of the Ramakrishna order, one of the few centers founded by Swami Vivekananda himself. The introduction to these talks is given by Mr. Masood al-Haq, and the Swami's talks are delivered by Mr. Biplab Ganguly. Let us now listen to the words that stirred their hearers to their depths, words which echo down to us with their stirring power well over a century later, the words of Swami Vivekananda.
हे पथिक अकेला बढ़ता जा तू पथिक अकेला बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा पथिक अकेला बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा साथ ना तेरे कोई आए कोई राह नहीं बतलाए कर परवाह नहीं तू इसकी बाधाओं से लड़ता जा तू लड़ता जा तू लड़ता जा गर पर्वत सामने अड़ा हो और शिखर सामने खड़ा हो कदम ना तेरा रुकने पाए आगे आगे बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा घड़ी विपद की कट जाएगी मंजिल खुद तुझ तक आएगी हिम्मत कभी ना खोना बंदे नई राह गढ़ता जा तू गढ़ता जा तू गढ़ता जा पथिक अकेला बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा तू बढ़ता जा
Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable to rise in response to the warm and cordial welcome which you have given us. I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. I thank you in the name of the mother of religions. And I thank you in the name of the millions and millions of Hindu people of all classes and sects. My thanks also to some of the speakers on this platform who, referring to the delegates from the Orient, have told you that these men from far off nations may well claim the honor of bearing to different lands the idea of toleration. I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth. I am proud to tell you that we have gathered in our bosom the purest remnant of the Israelites who came to southern India and took refuge with us in the very year in which their holy temple was shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. I am proud to belong to the religion which has sheltered and is still fostering the remnant of the grand Zoroastrian nation. I will quote to you, brethren, a few lines from a hymn which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is every day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams, having their sources in different places, all mingle their water in the sea, so, O Lord, the different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to Thee. The present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in the Gita. Whosoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant fanaticism have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now. But their time has come, and I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or with the pen, and of all uncharitable feelings between persons wending their way to the same goal.
জাগো 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 মা কুল কুণ্ডলিনী জাগো মা কুল কুণ্ডলিনী তুমি নিত্যানন্দ স্বরূপিণী তুমি ব্রহ্মানন্দ স্বরূপিণী প্রসুপ্ত ভুজগাকার আধার পদ্মবাসিনী তুমি জাগো মা কুল কুণ্ডলিনী জাগো মা কুল কুণ্ডলিনী ত্রিকোণে জলসানু তাপিতা হইল তনু মূলাধার তেজ স্বয়ম্ভু শিব বেষ্টিনী তুমি জাগো মা, তুমি জাগো মা, তুমি জাগো মা, জাগো মা কুল কুণ্ডলিনী, জাগো মা কুল কুণ্ডলিনী।
একটু জল নিয়ে আসবো? ব্যস্ত হবেন না আপনারা, উনি গান শুনতে শুনতে আবার আপনিই প্রকৃতিস্থ হবেন। আপনি গান।
গচ্ছ সুষুম্নার পথ, স্বাধিষ্ঠানে হও উদিত, মণিপুর অনাহত, বিশুদ্ধাজ্ঞা সঞ্চারিণী, শিরসি সহস্র দলে, পরম শিবেতে মিলে, ক্রীড়া কর কুতূহলে, সচ্চিদানন্দদায়িনী তুমি জাগো মা কুল কুণ্ডলিনী, জাগো 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 তুমি জাগো মা, তুমি জাগো মা।
Why we disagree. 15th September 1893. I will tell you a little story. You've heard the eloquent speaker, who has just finished, say, "Let us cease from abusing each other." And he was very sorry that there should be always so much variance. But I think I should tell you a story which would illustrate the cause of this variance. A frog lived in a well. It had lived there for a long time. It was born there and brought up there, and yet was a little small frog. Of course, the evolutionists were not there then to tell us whether the frog lost its eyes or not. But for our story's sake, we must take it for granted that it had its eyes, and that it every day cleansed the water of all the worms and bacilli that lived in it with an energy that would do credit to our modern bacteriologists. In this way, it went on and became a little sleek and fat. Well, one day, another frog that lived in the sea came and fell into the well. "Where are you from?" "I'm from the sea." "The sea? How big is that? Is it as big as my well?" And it took a leap from one side of the well to the other. "My friend," said the frog of the sea, "how do you compare the sea with your little well?" Then the frog took another leap and asked, "Is your sea so big?" "What nonsense you speak, to compare the sea with your well." "Well then," said the frog of the well, "nothing can be bigger than my well." "There can be nothing bigger than this. This fellow is a liar, so turn him out." That has been the difficulty all the while. I'm a Hindu. I'm sitting in my own little well and thinking that the whole world is my little well. The Christian sits in his little well and thinks the whole world is his well. The Mohammedan sits in his little well and thinks that is the whole world. I have to thank you of America for the great attempt you are making to break down the barriers of this little world of ours, and hope that, in the future, the Lord will help you to accomplish your purpose.
মা 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 তুমি তারা, আমার মা তুমি তারা, তুমি ত্রিগুণ ধরা পরা পরা মা, মা তং হে তারা, আমার মা তং হে তারা। আমি জানি মা ওদিন দয়াময়ী তুমি, দুর্গমেতে দুঃখ হরা তুমি, দুর্গমেতে দুঃখ হরা। মা 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 তং হে তারা, আমার মা তং হে তারা। তুমি জলে তুমি স্থলে তুমি আদৌ মূলে গো মা, তুমি জলে তুমি স্থলে তুমি আদৌ মূলে গো মা। আছো সর্বঘটে অর্ঘ ফুটে, সাকারাকার নিরাকারা। মা 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 তং হে তারা, আমার মা তং হে তারা। তুমি সন্ধ্যা তুমি গায়ত্রী তুমি জগধাত্রী গো মা, তুমি সন্ধ্যা তুমি গায়ত্রী তুমি জগধাত্রী গো মা। অকুলের গান কর্ত্রী সদা শিবের মনোহরা। মা 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 গো সদা শিবের মনোহরা। মা 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 তং হে তারা, আমার মা তং হে তারা।
যাবে কি হে দিন আমার বিফলে চলিয়ে, যাবে কি হে দিন আমার আছি না দিবানিশি, আশা পথ নিরখিয়ে আছি নাথ দিবানিশি, আশা পথ নিরখিয়ে। যাবে কি হে দিন আমার বিফলে চলিয়ে, যাবে কি হে দিন আমার। তুমি ত্রিভুবননাথ আমি তীখারিয়নাথ, তুমি ত্রিভুবননাথ আমি তীখারিয়নাথ। কেমনে বলিব তোমায় এসো হে মম হৃদয়ে, যাবে কি হে দিন আমার বিফলে চলিয়ে, যাবে কি হে দিন আমার। হৃদয় কুটির দ্বার খুলে রাখি অনিবার, হৃদয় কুটির দ্বার খুলে রাখি অনিবার। কৃপা করে একবার এসে কি কি কৃপা করে একবার এসে কি জুড়াবে কি যাবে কি সেদিন আমার বিফলে চলিয়ে যাবে কি সেদিন আমার বিফলে।
Religion, not the crying need of India. 20th September 1893. Christians must always be ready for good criticism. And I hardly think that you will mind if I make a little criticism. You Christians, who are so fond of sending out missionaries to save the soul of the heathen, why do you not try to save their bodies from starvation? In India, during the terrible famines, thousands died from hunger, yet you Christians did nothing. You erect churches all through India, but the crying evil in the East is not religion. They have religion enough, but it is bread that the suffering millions of burning India cry out for with parched throats. They ask us for bread, but we give them stones. It is an insult to a starving people to offer them religion. It is an insult to a starving man to teach him metaphysics. In India, a priest that preached for money would lose caste and be spat upon by the people. I came here to seek aid for my impoverished people, and I fully realized how difficult it was to get help for heathens from Christians in a Christian land.
सन्यासी तलाश जिसकी है वो तो कहीं नहीं, उसका घर तो जमी नहीं, जमी पे मैं ऊपर वो बाकी कहीं कोई नहीं। तुम भी यही हो मैं भी यही, सन्यासी तलाश जिसकी है वो तो कहीं नहीं, उसका घर तो जमी नहीं, जमी पे मैं ऊपर वो बाकी कहीं कोई नहीं। तुम भी यही हो मैं भी यही।
रामा कृष्णा हे रामा कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण।
स्वर्ग यही है देखो पाँव तले, दिल और दिल के जले हुए। स्वर्ग यही है देखो पाँव तले, दिल और दिल के जले हुए। भंवरा यही फूल यही, बाकी कहीं कुछ भी नहीं।
रामा कृष्णा हे रामा कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण।
वो सन्यासी तलाश जिसकी है वो तो कहीं नहीं, उसका घर तो जमी नहीं, जमी पे मैं ऊपर वो बाकी कहीं कोई नहीं। तुम भी यही हो मैं भी
Krishna Krishna Krishna.
कभी तो चांद को देखो चख के, आग जरा सी दिल में रख के। कभी तो चांद को देखो चख के, आग जरा सी दिल में रख के। आना नहीं दोबारा यही, जीना यही है, मरना यही।
Rama Krishna He Rama Krishna Krishna Krishna.
ओ सन्यासी तलाश जिसकी है वो तो कहीं नहीं, उसका घर तो जमी नहीं, जमी पे मैं ऊपर वो, बाकी कहीं कोई नहीं। तुम भी यही हो, मैं भी यही।
Rama Krishna He Rama Krishna 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 He Rama Krishna He Rama Krishna Krishna Krishna. Buddhism, the fulfillment of Hinduism. 26th September 1893. I am not a Buddhist, as you have heard, and yet I am. If China or Japan or Ceylon follow the teachings of the great master, India worships him as God incarnate on earth. You have just now heard that I am going to criticize Buddhism, but by that I wish you to understand only this. Far be it from me to criticize him whom I worship as God incarnate on earth. But our views about Buddha are that he was not understood properly by his disciples. The relation between Hinduism, by Hinduism I mean the religion of the Vedas, and what is called Buddhism at the present day is nearly the same as between Judaism and Christianity. Jesus Christ was a Jew, and Shakyamuni was a Hindu. The Jews rejected Jesus Christ, nay, crucified him, and the Hindus have accepted Shakyamuni as God and worship him. But the real difference that we Hindus want to show between modern Buddhism and what we should understand as the teachings of Lord Buddha lies principally in this. Shakyamuni came to preach nothing new. He also, like Jesus, came to fulfill and not to destroy. Only in the case of Jesus, it was the old people, the Jews, who did not understand him, while in the case of Buddha, it was his own followers who did not realize the import of his teachings. As the Jew did not understand the fulfillment of the Old Testament, so the Buddhist did not understand the fulfillment of the truths of the Hindu religion. Again I repeat, Shakyamuni came not to destroy, but he was the fulfillment, the logical conclusion, the logical development of the religion of the Hindus. The religion of the Hindus is divided into two parts, the ceremonial and the spiritual. The spiritual portion is specially studied by the monks. In that there is no caste. A man from the highest caste and a man from the lowest may become a monk in India, and the two castes become equal. In religion, there is no caste. Caste is simply a social institution. Shakyamuni himself was a monk, and it was his glory that he had the large-heartedness to bring out the truths from the hidden Vedas and throw them broadcast all over the world. He was the first being in the world who brought missionarizing into practice. Nay, he was the first to conceive the idea of proselytizing. The great glory of the Master lay in his wonderful sympathy for everybody, especially for the ignorant and the poor. Some of his disciples were Brahmins. When Buddha was teaching, Sanskrit was no more the spoken language in India. It was then only in the books of the learned. Some of the Buddha's Brahmin disciples wanted to translate his teachings into Sanskrit, but he distinctly told them, "I am for the poor, for the people. Let me speak in the tongue of the people." And so to this day, the great bulk of his teachings are in the vernacular of that day in India. Whatever may be the position of philosophy, whatever may be the position of metaphysics, so long as there is such a thing as death in the world, so long as there is such a thing as weakness in the human heart, so long as there is a cry going out of the heart of man in his very weakness, there shall be a faith in God. On the philosophic side, the disciples of the great Master dashed themselves against the eternal rocks of the Vedas and could not crush them. And on the other side, they took away from the nation that eternal God to which everyone, man or woman, clings so fondly. And the result was that Buddhism had to die a natural death in India. At the present day, there is not one who calls oneself a Buddhist in India, the land of its birth. But at the same time, Brahmanism lost something. That reforming zeal, that wonderful sympathy and charity for everybody, that wonderful leaven which Buddhism had brought to the masses, and which had rendered Indian society so great that a Greek historian who wrote about India of that time was led to say that no Hindu was known to tell an untruth, and no Hindu woman was known to be unchaste. Hinduism cannot live without Buddhism, nor Buddhism without Hinduism. Then realize what the separation has shown to us, that the Buddhists cannot stand without the brain and philosophy of the Brahmins, nor the Brahmin without the heart of the Buddhist. This separation between the Buddhists and the Brahmins is the cause of the downfall of India. That is why India is populated by 300 millions of beggars, and that is why India has been the slave of conquerors for the last 1,000 years. Let us then join the wonderful intellect of the Brahmin with the heart, the noble soul, the wonderful humanizing power of the great Master. Address at the final session, 27th September 1893. The world's parliament of religions has become an accomplished fact, and the merciful Father has helped those who labored to bring it into existence and crowned with success their most unselfish labor. My thanks to those noble souls whose large hearts and love of truth first dreamed this wonderful dream and then realized it. My thanks to the shower of liberal sentiments that has overflowed this platform. My thanks to this enlightened audience for their uniform kindness to me and for their appreciation of every thought that tends to smooth the friction of religions. A few jarring notes were heard from time to time in this harmony. My special thanks to them, for they have, by their striking contrast, made the general harmony the sweeter. Much has been said of the common ground of religious unity. I'm not going just now to venture my own theory. But if anyone here hopes that this unity will come by the triumph of any one of the religions and the destruction of the others, to him I say, brother, yours is an impossible hope. Do I wish that the Christian would become Hindu? God forbid. Do I wish that the Hindu or Buddhist would become Christian? God forbid. The seed is put in the ground, and earth and air and water are placed around it. Does the seed become the earth, or the air, or the water? No. It becomes a plant. It develops after the law of its own growth, assimilates the air, the earth, and the water, converts them into plant substance, and grows into a plant. Similar is the case with religion. The Christian is not to become a Hindu or a Buddhist, nor a Hindu or a Buddhist to become a Christian, but each must assimilate the spirit of the others and yet preserve his individuality and grow according to his own law of growth. If the Parliament of Religions has shown anything to the world, it is this. It has proved to the world that holiness, purity and charity are not the exclusive possessions of any church in the world, and that every system has produced men and women of the most exalted character. In the face of this evidence, if anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and the destruction of the others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension.
নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি শশাঙ্ক সুন্দর, হাসে বোমে ছায়া সম, ছবি বিশ্ব চরাচর, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি। অস্ফুট মন আকাশে জগৎ সংসার ভাসে, অস্ফুট মন আকাশে জগৎ সংসার ভাসে, ওঠে ভাসে ডোবে পুন অহং স্রোতে নিরন্তর, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি। ধীরে ধীরে ছায়াদল মহালয়ে প্রবেশিল, বহে মাত্র আমি আমি এই ধারা অনুক্ষণ সে ধারা বদ্ধ হল শূন্যে শূন্য মিলাইল সে ধারা বদ্ধ হল শূন্যে শূন্য মিলাইল অবাং মানস গোচরম বোঝে প্রাণ বোঝে যা নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি নাহি শশাঙ্ক সুন্দর নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি
তুমি তম ভঞ্জন প্রভু তুমি তম ভঞ্জন রঙ্গ রঙ্গ ভঙ্গ বাজে অঙ্গ সঙ্গ মৃদঙ্গ রঙ্গ রঙ্গ ভঙ্গ বাজে অঙ্গ সঙ্গ মৃদঙ্গ গাইছে ছন্দ ভক্ত বৃন্দ আরতি তোমার জয় জয় আরতি তোমার হর হর আরতি তোমার শিব শিব আরতি তোমার ওম জানো ভব ওম ভানু যাব ওম জানো বন্দি তোমার।
Swami Vivekananda exercised a wonderful influence over his audience. Dr. J.H. Barrows, chairman of the General Committee of the Parliament of Religions, Chicago. By far the most important and typical representative of Hinduism was Swami Vivekananda, who, in fact, was beyond question the most popular and influential man in the Parliament. Mr. Mervyn Mary Snell, President of the Scientific Section of the Parliament of Religions, Chicago. He is undoubtedly the greatest figure in the Parliament of Religions. After hearing him, we feel how foolish it is to send missionaries to this learned nation. The New York Herald. Vivekananda's address before the Parliament was broad as the heaven above us, embracing the best in all religions as the ultimate universal religion, charity to all mankind and good works for the love of God, not for fear of punishment or hope of reward. He is a great favorite of the Parliament. If he merely crosses the platform, he is applauded. At the Parliament of Religions, they used to keep Vivekananda until the end of the program to make people stay till the end of the session. The 4,000 fanning people in the Hall of Columbus would sit smiling and expectant, waiting for an hour or two to listen to Vivekananda for 15 minutes. The chairman knew the old rule of keeping the best until the last. Boston Evening Transcript. Of the Swami's address before the Parliament of Religions, it may be said that when he began to speak, it was of the religious ideas of the Hindus, but when he ended, Hinduism had been created. For it was no experience of his own that rose to the lips of the Swami Vivekananda there. He did not even take advantage of the occasion to tell the story of his master. Instead of either of these, it was the religious consciousness of India that spoke through him, the message of his whole people as determined by their whole past. Others stood beside Swami Vivekananda on the same platform as he, as apostles of particular creeds and churches, but it was his glory that came to preach a religion to which each of these was, in his own words, only a traveling, a coming up of different men and women through various conditions and circumstances to the same goal. Sister Nivedita, Miss Margaret E. Noble, in her introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda's participation and his magisterial and, at the same time, sweet and reasonable pronouncements at the International Congress of Religions at Chicago in 1893 form a very important event in the intellectual history of modern man. There he proclaimed for the first time the necessity for a new and enlightened kind of religious understanding and toleration. Although the ordinary run of people are not conscious of it, the message which was given out by Vivekananda to America and the Western world at Chicago in 1893, and subsequently to people in America, England, and India, has been an effective force in the liberalization of the human spirit in its religious approach. Suniti Kumar Chatterjee, Swami Vivekananda Centenary Memorial Volume, pages 228 to 233. On Monday, September 11, 1893, the first session of the Parliament was opened. But it was the young man Vivekananda who represented nothing and everything. The man belonging to no sect, but rather to India as a whole, who drew the glance of the assembled thousands. His speech was like a tongue of flame. It fired the souls of the listening throng. Each of the other orators had spoken of his God, of the God of his sect. He alone, spoke of all their gods and embraced them all in the universal being. It was the breath of Ramakrishna breaking down the barriers through the mouth of his great disciple. During the ensuing days, he spoke again 10 or 12 times. Each time he repeated with new arguments, but with the same force of conviction, his thesis of a universal religion without limit of time or space, uniting the whole credo of human spirit from the enslaved fetishism of the savage to the most liberal creative affirmations of modern science. He harmonized them into a magnificent synthesis, which helped all hopes to grow and flourish according to their own proper nature. There was to be no other dogma but the divinity inherent in man and his capacity of indefinite evolution. The effect of these mighty words was immense. Over the heads of the official representatives of the Parliament, they were addressed to all and appealed to outside thought. Vivekananda's fame at once spread abroad, and India as a whole benefited. Romain Rolland, The Life of Swami Vivekananda, pages 36 to 40. The visit of Swami Vivekananda to America and the subsequent work of those who followed him did more for India than 100 London congresses could effect. That is the true way of awakening sympathy, by showing ourselves to the nations as a people with a great past and an ancient civilization, who still possess something of the genius and character of our forefathers, have still something to give to the world, and therefore deserve freedom by manliness and fitness, not by mendicancy. The going forth of Swami Vivekananda, marked out by the Master as the heroic soul destined to take the world between his two hands and change it, was the first visible sign to the world that India was awake not only to survive, but to conquer. Once the soul of the nation was awake in religion, it was only a matter of time and opportunity for it to throw on all spiritual and intellectual activities in national existence and take possession of them. Sri Aurobindo, in Sri Aurobindo Birth Centenary Library, Pondicherry, Volume 2, 1972, pages 37 and 171. The spirit that reigned over the Parliament and dominated the soul of almost every religious representative present was that of universal toleration and universal deliverance. And it ought to be a matter of pride to India, to all Hindus especially, that no one expressed, as the American papers say, this spirit so well as the Hindu representative, Swami Vivekananda. His address, in every way worthy of the representative of a religion such as Hinduism is, struck the keynote of the Parliament of religion. The spirit of Catholicity and toleration which distinguishes Hinduism, forming one of its broad features, was never before so prominently brought to the notice of the world as it has been by Swami Vivekananda. And we make no doubt that the Swami's address will have an effect on other religions whose teachers, preachers, and missionaries heard him and were impressed by his utterances. Indian Mirror, 21st March 1894, quoted in The Life of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1, 1979, page 437. A striking figure, clad in yellow and orange, shining like the sun of India in the midst of the heavy atmosphere of Chicago. A lion head, piercing eyes, mobile lips, movements swift and abrupt. Such was my first impression of Swami Vivekananda as I met him in one of the rooms set apart for the use of the delegates to the Parliament of Religion. Enraptured, the huge multitude hung upon his words. Not a syllable must be lost, not a cadence missed. That man a heathen, said one, as he came out of the great hall, and we sent missionaries to his people. It would be more fitting that they should send missionaries to us. Dr. Annie Besant, quoted in The Life of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1, 1979, page 429. In his deep voice he began, "Sisters and brothers of America," and the entire audience, many hundred people, clapped and cheered wildly for 2 whole minutes. No doubt the vast majority of those present hardly knew why they had been so powerfully moved. The appearance, even the voice of Vivekananda cannot fully explain it. A large gathering has its own strange kind of subconscious telepathy, and this one must have been somehow aware that it was in the presence of the most unusual of beings, a man whose words express exactly what he is. When Vivekananda said, "sisters and brothers," he actually meant that he regarded the American women and men before him as sisters and brothers. The well-known orational phrase became simple truth. By Christopher Isherwood in What Religion Is in the Words of Swami Vivekananda, 1991, page 16.
Mono chalo nijo niketane sangsar